The Last of Us Part 2. Big fan of the first one, so obviously I had to get the second one on day one launch and just completely and utterly destroy this game. 32 hours of full gameplay from start to finish on my playthrough. We started on Friday, went through into Saturday and Sunday. The game itself is actually a very large game. So if you own a lot of games on your hard drive, you might want to make space. You're looking at just under 100 gig of game data. They actually give you 2 discs. The very first one that you have to put in is an installation disc. And then you've got one more to put in, which is basically the gameplay disc. So you're looking at 100 gig of data going onto your PlayStation before you even begin playing this game. Whew. So if you haven't done so already, make space. Make lots of space. Word files, and what a cracking game though. What a cracking game. Review template is now open, and we're going to break down this game just like we do with any other level game. We treat it exactly the same, regardless of what platform it's on, regardless of what it is. We treat it the same. Okay, so the very first thing that we look into on any video game that we play and any review that we do is the soundtrack. I love soundtracks in games. I really do. I put soundtracks above graphics any day of the week. I really do. Because I feel a fantastic soundtrack can make or break a video game completely. And the soundtrack to The Last of Us 2 is beyond phenomenal. It really is. It's quite similar to the first game soundtrack, which was also breathtaking in every way. You got the very iconic guitar music playing throughout a lot of the cutscenes that you do and throughout a lot of the actual gameplay. It's very iconic. When you hear it, you know where it's from, what game it's from as well, and I can't really fault them in any way, shape or form. I think the soundtrack to The Last of Us Part 2 was absolutely breathtaking and phenomenal in every way. It worked. There wasn't a scene where the music didn't fit. It all worked perfectly fine. The next thing I like to look into is, which is also a part of the audio, is the effects and the voice acting. Now, the voice acting, nailed. 100% spot on, perfect in every single way. I loved all the voice actors. I'm glad that they used the same voice actors again from the original game. Troy Baker coming in, playing as Joel. I do like Troy Baker quite a lot because he's also the voice actor for Chris Redfield in Resident Evil. And it's just all spot on and perfect. It really, I can't fault it in any way, shape, or form. It delivers, the clarity is there, the emotion is there, and I can't knock any points off. I can't. I'm not going to. It's pure and simple. Audio effects. Now, this includes the sound effects within the game itself, whether it be animal sound effects, whether it be nature sound effects, whether it be gun sound effects. And again, I can't fault the game. All the guns that we used, they sounded absolutely fantastic. They really did. And it might come off as like a broken record, but I can't fault it in any way, and I'm not knocking points off. The game, in terms of audio, was spot on throughout start to finish, and I'm not going to fault it in any way. The next thing I like to look into is graphics. Graphics may not and tend to not remove any points off of my reviews as long as it's done correctly, as long as it's done right. And what I mean by if the graphics is done right is if the graphical engine isn't showing any faults within the game. I'm talking texture glitches, screen tearing, missing textures where the designers just thought, do you know what, we're just going to ignore that and put just a black hole there instead. So with the graphics engine that they used within the game itself, did it work? Simple answer is yes. Did I find any glitches or faults with the graphics engine? No. Did the game look absolutely phenomenal? Yes. The game looks breathtaking. the scenery in this game, because you actually find your character in places that you can look at the outskirts and just look for miles, and it looks breathtaking. This is a stunning looking game. 100%. The character models look great. The animals look fantastic. The game itself is absolutely breathtaking to take in. And even when you're exploring through the woods and you see the sunset, or you're out in the snowy mountains, it's breathtaking to look at. It really is. So I can't knock any points off. I can't. I can't. If we saw problems with it, I'll be honest about it and I would say. But I never encountered any visual graphic errors while playing the game. And I'm talking any form of broken texture glitches or anything like that, didn't see them. So, pure pass, moving on to the next subject. Weather effects. Oh, this game had weather effects and it was amazing. The snow looked great. The rain looked great. The thunder and lightning effects looked great. The sunset looked great. The forest mist that it creates within the game. This game is stunning. It really is. And the weather effects are so well done. So again, can't fault them. I can't fault them at all. So moving on. Gameplay and mechanics. This is where it'll get interesting. Now, throughout the gameplay itself, it plays almost identically to the very first game. It really does. There are a few new features that they installed with The Last of Us 2 that The Last of Us 1 didn't have, which we will get to in the breakdown analysis as well that I've written down. But in terms of mechanics, they utilize pretty much the same sort of game mechanics that they did in the first one. Yes, it was a good thing, but at the same time, there are negatives, and I'll talk more about that when we get down to the written. Any game customization and stats building. Yes, there is game customization. They utilize that specific feature on the weapons that you can use, whoever you're playing with. You can add things to your weapons to make them stronger, more stable, more accurate. And what's wicked about the upgrades that they do is you actually partly get to see the character actually adding the modification to the gun, breaking it down and adding the attachment. And I really thought that was a fantastic touch. It's just a shame that every now and again their character's head would block what they're doing, so you can't see it all completely. Because I would love to see them actually strip the gun down and add the attachments into the weaponry and put it back together again, all on screen so you can see it all. But it was a nice touch. I liked it, and yeah, I would, like I said, I would have loved to have seen the guns being fully upgraded, if possible. But with what they did, I liked it. Replayability and game difficulty. There is definitely replayability in this game itself. There are unlockables that you can get throughout the story itself that you can find, i.e. extra weapon holsters. You can also find collecting cards. You can also find coin collections. So there's quite a lot to collect throughout the game, and the game does reward you for finding those things and for completing the game by giving you models that you can examine, models of the characters, the enemies, the wildlife that you can fully examine with the credits that you've earned throughout your playthrough. And they also give you concept art that you can look into, but you have to use the same currency. So to increase your currency, you're pretty much just playing the game throughout, finding all the collectibles, and also playing it on a harder difficulty from what it said on the main page. Game difficulty, I played it on a normal mode. But I found the AI to be ridiculously accurate. And I mean during times that you're sprinting, sliding across the floor, that you're in cover, I found that the AI was just way too stupidly accurate. And what made it worse is that when you got hit by one of the rounds on some of the weapons, your character would go into a stunning animation, which allowed the AI to shoot you a second time straight off the get-go. So pretty much you get shot twice before your character is taken out of the animation so you can move around. I do not like that at all. I think that is stupid. Really stupid. And I don't know if that's something that they can patch, but it's stupid. Really stupid. But there's more that I want to bring up because I've written everything down in stages itself. Story, if applicable. This is a spoiler-free review. So, because it's going to get uploaded to YouTube, the last thing that I want is any fan of mine to watch this video and to be like, oh, he spoiled the story. Oh, good job. Now there's no point in me playing it. That's not going to happen. The story was breathtaking at times. And if you was to watch back on my VODs, you will see the amount of facial expressions that I go through. It looks like sometimes I have maybe an orgasm. This game will hit you with all sorts of emotions, and quite quickly as well. So you may think you'll be like, oh, I'm just going for a casual walk, and bam, it hits you in the feels pretty hard. And that's something that the very first Last of Us game does pretty well. The game hits you at the very beginning of the first game with raw emotion, and the rest of the game pretty much pans out incredibly well. And it's just, there are a few things I felt they should have done differently, and there are a few things I felt they could have improved on. I'm not going to say that this story is a perfect story. I, to be honest, found The Last of Us 1 story close to perfection. From start to finish, I found it close to perfection. This game throws it quite hard at you, and then it goes back in time to do flashbacks for you. Then it goes forward in time, then back in time, then at preset time, then back in time again, and it can get a little bit overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. And I feel they could have done things differently, and we will talk about it. Online co-op modes, features, and stability. From what I saw, there was no online, and there shouldn't be any online. Modes, it's pretty much just the story. That's what you're paying for. Features and stability, I can't talk about online features because there isn't any. Stability of online, again, can't talk about, so we will push that along and move on. What I wrote down is going to cover some of the fields that we've already spoken about, but will give me a little bit more depth to speak about. The clickers in this game, this will fall under gameplay and mechanics. The clickers in this game are supposed to be blind. They are not blind. They are not blind, and I proved it in the game many times. The clickers will know you're there. They will know you're there. Even if you're hiding in grass, even if you're meters away from them, even if you're lying down super still and you're not moving 1 inch, they'll spot you. They'll come running at you and they'll kill you. And I don't think the clickers mechanics have been improved from the original game. I really don't. I think they need to do a lot more work around the mechanics of the clickers, because I think they find you way too easy. And once one enemy spots you within the game, the whole area knows where you are, and it's stupid. I'm not going to talk about that because that's a spoiler. But I'm going to try. I need to talk about it because it's important. I feel that the massive thing they do within the story, they do too soon. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I think they played that card too early. And because they played that card too early, it impacted a lot of the emotion within the game. For me. I think they could have done a build-up, which would have put more emotion into the build-up, and would have definitely fueled the passion within the gamer to the motivation of continuing the game to keep pushing forward. So to me, I felt honestly like the big thing that they did within the game, they did too soon. They played that card way too early, and because of it, they couldn't do the build-up correctly. Because after that moment, you get a lot of flashback scenes to play, which are before all of the events that have happened up to thus. And I feel if they would have played them first, it would have put more emotion into the scene of when the big thing happens. So I think they did some of the flashbacks in the wrong order. I think some of the flashbacks should have come before the big main scene. So when the big scene happened, it would have added way more emotion to that scene itself. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of emotion in it. There is a lot of emotion in it, but I just think the build-up was just too quick. And I think if they would have moved the flashbacks before the actual scene itself, it would have tied better with the emotion. But that's just my opinion. I do feel the flashbacks are put in the wrong order. I do feel that is the case. I do love the fact that Ellie draws certain things within her diary that you can flick through. But one thing that kind of annoyed me is she would pull her diary out. She would draw or write something in her diary and then immediately pull it away. And then the game says, hey, pull out the diary to read what she's put. And you're like, okay, I'm now going to pull it back out again just to read. That's stupid. Why not, while she's writing the actual thing within the writing what she's looking at or what she's thinking in the diary, the game allows you to look at it at that moment in time before she puts her diary away. It's just a little, it's a little bit messy that she does it all, puts it away, and then the game's like, oh, check out her diary. Oh, God, I'll get it back out again. It's just a bit, in my opinion. AI accuracy is way too good on normal difficulty. They are. We've already spoken about that. It's ridiculously on point. And I didn't like it whatsoever. I would like it if they highlighted bodies even when the enemy is dead. Because there was a lot of times when I killed enemies and I couldn't find their bodies. And because I'm trying to find more ammo, more resources to keep me going. And you end up in a firefight of maybe 10, 15 enemies. And you have to remember the area of the game that you're in is full of nature. The trees everywhere, high grass, bushes, hedges, and all that crap. And it's very hard to find some of the kills that you've done sometimes when you go back to find extra loot. So it would be nice if they added a silhouette or an outline around the dead body when you're doing your sense mode, because then it allows you to find where your kills are and just double check you haven't missed any loot. I just think they should stick that in there. Just my opinion. I found during the majority of the game, and I know some people are going to be like, but this is just my opinion. I found that throughout a normal playthrough that the ammo was just shockingly bad. Whenever you found ammo, it was either 1 or 2 bullets. Not really, I mean, you'd get lucky to find more than 3 bullets in a pack of ammo. But they scatter ammo packs around the game for you to find, and they tend to have 1 bullet in them. Or you've just killed an enemy and the gun's right on the floor and the gun's just magically empty. I found that they could have added a lot more scenes. Now, they did this in the first game, and they did also do this in the second game, where your character ends up getting unlimited ammo during a special event within the game itself. I love that stuff. I think they could have done more of those in the second game. Maybe send more hordes at you, and maybe put your character behind certain weaponry that has unlimited ammo, so you can just mow them down and really let that frustration out on some of the enemies. Because they played Last of Us 2 almost identical to Last of Us 1. Amazing story plots, lots of drama, lots of emotion, but sometimes it gets very stale at times. You're going around, you're trying to scavenge for supplies, you're trying to make this and make that, and there are only a few scenes in The Last of Us 2 where they send a shocking amount of enemies at you, and during those scenes, my heart is racing. I'm like, oh my god, this is bloody amazing. I feel they could have done more of those scenes. Maybe have a horde attacking your base or something, and you've got to go into a defensive mode. I just felt those sort of things needed to be, there needed to be more of them, in my opinion. Not all weapons can be picked up. Different shotguns and snipers are found around enemy bases. I don't know why they did. Well, they probably did this for a reason, but you would have one particular sniper rifle. You have a certain model sniper rifle. You have a certain model shotgun. For example, Ellie had the pump action shotgun. Great weapon. But I would kill enemies that would have double barrel shotguns. And when I saw those weapons, I was like, oh, cool, a double barrel shotgun. I want to use that. You can't. You can't use it because the game specifically wants you to use the pump action shotgun. And that's the same for the revolver. That's the same for the sniper rifle as well. You find different versions of sniper rifles. Like, oh, there's a nice wicked bolt action sniper. Oh, nope. Gotta use your one. Can only use your one. Can't have additional models. You know what would have been good? If they gave your character a workbench to work on, to modify all your weapons. What if during that workbench they also put like a storage unit which had different variations of the weapons that you were using, which meant if you wanted to put the pump action shotgun away and take out the double barrel shotgun, the game would then give you more weaponry within the game to play with, instead of restricting you to the small amount of weaponry that you have on your bag. Just a little bit, just a small thing to think about. The game could have given you the option of using different variations of weapons if they put a storage box beside the upgrade bench. The upgrade benches were all generic. They all looked the same. What harm would there have been to maybe have like a gun rack right next to it? And you could have put your weapons away and taken different weapons out, increasing your range of weaponry. Just something to think about. I think that would have been really, really, really cool. Some of the flashbacks could have been better positioned throughout the story arc. We've already spoken about that. Partner stealth mechanics have not improved. No, they have not. No, they have not. Your AI is so stupid. It's game breaking. It really is. Only you matter to the enemy. Only you, the key character that you're playing as, matters to the enemy. You could be lying in grass, and your character will be stupid enough to stand out in the open, and the enemies wouldn't care. They wouldn't care one bit that there's an enemy right there. They just, and they even walk past them sometimes. I feel the AI mechanics in this game are in no way an improvement from the original game, even though this game, the first game came out 14th of June 2013. That's 6 years later, and they still have not improved on the AI intelligent mechanic. And that really irritated me. Like, really irritated me of how stupid they were. Because not only would they get in your way, not only would they push you out from cover, not only would they stand in the open like a beacon of light going, shoot me, shoot me, shoot me, but they cause problems when you're trying to engage with the enemy by getting in your way and knocking you out of cover. And I'm sorry, but that's not good enough. After 6 years, that is not good enough. Your AI mechanics should have been improved. Or if you can't improve them, make sure that the second character stays back and doesn't get in your way. It would make way more sense doing that than having them run around like a 0 IQ NPC, just bumping into the enemies. Even the enemy IQ was stupid. Really stupid. I had the enemy looking at me blankly in the eye and then walk off like they didn't notice me. Like, hi. Like, I'm right here. Hello. The AI intelligence is probably the worst thing about this game. And I'm using that term lightly. It is the worst thing about this game. When I look back at the 32 hours that I played in this game, the thing that annoyed me the most was AI intelligence mechanics. With your support character and even the AI that you're fighting itself. They were dumb. Like, really dumb. And I just don't think they did a good improvement on them. Just my overall opinion. I think that as a whole needed a complete overhaul. Heavy enemies take shoot. Oh, for God's sake. Around about 70% into the game, they introduce heavy enemies to fight on the enemy side. And I'm not talking about infected. I'm talking about human characters that you actually engage in combat with. And it takes 2 shotgun shells to the face to knock them down. And I'm sorry, but that's what I nearly lost it at that point. I got really frustrated. It doesn't matter, you know, what you want to symbolize the character as, whether it be a light inventory, heavy inventory. If I shotgun an enemy in the face, I expect their face to disintegrate. But nope. I had a heavy come at me and I blew their face clean off. And it didn't, they kept coming at me. The shotgun was a matter of centimeters away from their face, and I shot at them, and you can tell they got hit by the impact, but they kept running at me afterwards. Perfectly fine. I was annoyed. I was really, because they hit me with the pickaxe, and it knocked a lot of my character's health down. But I was really frustrated with that. That mechanic there needs to be completely redone. It doesn't matter what enemy you fight. If you shotgun a character in the face, whether it be a human or a monster, that face should just whoop, disappear. But no. Game offers New Game Plus as an option once you complete it, which is great. Gives you that replayability option to go through the game with all the collectibles and all the weapons that you have found to maximize each weapon and earn the rest of the trophies that you might be earning for. Because, you know, there are some people out there that are trophy hunters. And if you want to 100% the game, you're going to need to do more than one playthrough. It's, you know, unfortunately, that's just the case. Set that, click it, blah, 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 blah. Set that. Oh, we did have one bug. And I think we counted it as 3 times throughout the game itself. And that bug was Ellie wasn't raising her gun to aim properly. She would try to raise it, but it would get blocked by the animation. And for some reason, she wasn't aiming her gun correctly at all. Until we put the gun away, got a different gun out, and then it fixed the animation. That bug needs to be ironed out. I'm pretty sure just a small update bug will fix that. But they need to obviously find out what's causing the trigger for the animation to not correctly work. But we noticed it around about 3 times. So just get a patch down, fix that bad boy out, and you'll be good to go. Already spoke about that. Right. That's pretty much everything spoken about, which will add to all the categories that we've already done. The next category is purchase price, digital price, and value of content. So there are 4 editions. Standard, physical copy. Standard digital. Digital deluxe. And the collector's statue edition. The physical copy for me was £40. The digital standard is £55 on the PlayStation Store. So that's already 15 quid more expensive just from going to digital to it baffles me. I yet to figure out why they do it, but it's obviously, you know, money. The digital deluxe is £65, and that comes with a soundtrack, the soundtrack of the game, digital art book, 6 PlayStation Network avatars, and a dynamic theme. I don't know what the dynamic theme is because I just bought the standard edition. I guess it depends on what you want out of your. Depends on how much of you're a fan of the game, to be fair. Then you've got the collector's edition, which is basically everything that the digital deluxe comes with, but you get a very sexy Ellie statue playing her guitar, and it looks really good. It really does. But I wouldn't say I'm a humongous fan of. Well, I am a massive fan, but not enough to put £170 into a statue edition. If it was Resident Evil, and that's a different story. Because Resident Evil is my #1 go-to. But maybe I'll get the statue at some point. They'll probably sell it separately because I would love to have a statue of that game because it is an incredible game. Trying to think. Value of content is definitely there. 100%. £40 for me. 32 hours of gameplay. I feel there's value for content. Now, is there value for content for £55? I feel £55 is higher than it should be. I really wish they would stop selling digital copies of games for stupid prices. It's really expensive. 55 quid is a massive amount of money. But yes, value of content is there for 40 quid. I would also say it would be there if it was 45 quid. 50 quid, yes, but you're stretching it. 55 quid, that's stretching it over. I don't. This is just my personal opinion. This won't impact the review scoring, to be fair, because I only paid 40 quid for it. But 55 it's a bit much. Take it down to 50. 49.99. Take it to 49.99. Value of content is there. In my opinion, because games need to stop going up in price, man. It's ridiculous. 65 quid for the game, a soundtrack, an art book, avatar stickers or pictures, and a dynamic theme. I mean, the soundtrack, I can probably just listen to YouTube and get the soundtrack, but I don't know. You need to make a decision whether or not you feel value of content is there, depending on what price you paid. Between 40 and 50 quid, yes, I'd say value of content is there. Anything above 50 quid, you're pushing it a little bit. Just a little bit. A little bit of greed, you know. You're going to make a lot of money out of this game anyway. You don't need to be that greedy. You don't need to be that greedy. Microtransactions or DLC. I didn't see any microtransactions in the store at all. But I don't know if they're planning DLC. I would expect they will be planning DLC for this game because they did launch a great DLC for the first game, like a fantastic DLC. So I wouldn't put it past them that they're definitely going to create a DLC for this game. I don't know what it's going to be about. I don't know if it's going to be the continuation or maybe a prequel. I don't know, but I would like some DLC. And I probably would grab it and give it a go as well. Now, the hard bit. Recommendation and scoring. Would I recommend this game? Oh, hell yes. Yes, I would. 100%. The first game was breathtaking. It really was. The first game was just phenomenal. And if you haven't played the first game, then wow. Just be warned though, it's lots of emotion, like lots of emotion. The second game, it didn't disappoint. It had everything that I wanted it to. It had shock, emotion, sadness, fear. It had everything, absolutely everything. I would definitely recommend picking this game up after you played the first one. Even at the price that they want. You know, if you can get it for about 40 to 50 quid, no more than that, yes, I would definitely recommend it. The biggest problems I had with this game was the AI. Like, the biggest problems. I don't like the AI in this game at all. I don't think their mechanics... I don't think there's an improvement on the AI. I really don't. And I was pretty disappointed with it. So, that is impacting the score of the review. I also felt that they put some of the flashbacks in the wrong position throughout your story playthrough. And because of that, some of the emotion was lost throughout the game. I hands down feel that when you build something up when there's so much emotion and then chuck the character into a complete emotionless scene because it's either a flashback or a flash forward, then you throw the gamer off. You throw the player off completely. When you have that momentum going, where it's getting emotional. You want to keep riding that train and keep going until something so epic happens that it marks your brain with that scene, and you're left thinking, oh my god, oh, what did I just win? Oh my lord, Yes, this game did have that, but it could have had more if the flashbacks were put in the right order throughout the story playthrough, and it would have added to the scenes that then happened. That's just my opinion. But at the same time, it's you force the gamer to remember that what's going on there has already happened. Now you're going back. Now you're going forward. Now you're going back. Now you're going back to where they were. Now you're going back. Now you're going forward. And I'm sorry, but by doing so many scene switches like that, you throw off the player. And I got thrown off a little bit. With that in mind, everything else with the game, sound, effects, graphics, everything else with the game was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Could the game have done a situation where it gave you an ultimatum at the end? Could the game have given the player a decision, a choice to make, where it gave you two endings, two cutscene endings? Yes, I actually think they could have done that. I do feel this game could have had two endings. And I feel the player should have been given those choices. Would you like to go down option A? Would you like to go down option B? Because that adds to the story, That adds, you're like, oh, if you're the person that goes, oh, everything's been perfect up to this point, I just want to close the story off, it's closed. And then if you do a second playthrough, if you want to, or load back to a certain checkpoint, you can then replay it and then go down option B and see how the second option would have taken you, So, with everything in mind, what would I rate this out of 10? And this has been extremely difficult for me. I wrote 2 scores down while the credits were scrolling up. 2 scores down. And obviously, when you play a sequel or when you play a prequel to a game, you do compare it to the first product that you played. So you do compare The Last of Us 1 to The Last of Us 2. And The Last of Us 1 was close to perfection. It was. It had some hiccups, but it was very close to perfection. I think some of the flashbacks kind of drown this game out slightly, and it gets tedious at times. I feel they stretch some of the flashbacks out too much, where you're just adding game time that's unnecessary. But overall, this was a fantastic and phenomenal game, and this was a phenomenal experience to go through. It really was. So, with that in mind, I am happy closing off this review, scoring The Last of Us Part 2 8.5 out of 10. .5 out of 10. End review.